All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're just afternoon and we're going to get started. My name is Dan Binkin. I run a entrepreneurial program here at UNI called Advance Iowa. We work with mainly small to mid-sized companies. So judging by the poll results, we probably have several of you engaged with us today. We're happy you could take some time over the lunch hour to learn a little bit today. Our webinar today is going to be on the subject matter of I-9s W-2s and 1099s and electronic filing. We have Teresa Dvorak with us from the Iowa Department of Revenue. She's going to be covering this material, and I just wanted to give a quick introduction of the fact that this is a joint broadcast between the University of Northern Iowa Economic Development Authority, and our Iowa SourceLink program, the platform you came to register and view this on, and then also the Iowa Department of Revenue, obviously. So today we're actually live from UNI's campus. It's a balmy 12 degrees out there, apparently. Yeah, and just so I mentioned this too, this is the largest audience we've ever had on one of our webinars, so we're real excited that all of you could join us. Couple quick housekeeping items. We'd like you to please hold your questions until closer to the end. I think you'll find that Teresa will cover most everything. But use the chat box for the Q&A when that time comes. We will be posting this slide deck to IA SourceLink. You'll be able to find it there, the same spot where you were able to come and log on today. We keep an archive of these. This is our last one for 2016, and so we won't be coming back to you with new information again until after tax season, I believe. And so everyone have a great holiday season, and with that, I'll turn it over to Teresa.
Great, thanks so much, Dan. Hi everybody, I'm Teresa. I'm an attorney with the department in the policy section, and as Dan mentioned, we're going to cover electronic submission of W-2s and 1099. So we'll go ahead and get started. So first we're going to talk about requirements prior to tax year 2016. And basically our requirements were that every withholding agent was required to submit or file with the department an annual verified summary of payments reports with the department prior to the last day of February following the tax year. So we had that requirement. We did not have any requirement that withholding agents submit W-2 forms and 1099 forms with the VSP. And those forms, the W-2s and the 1099s, were only to be provided to the department if the department requested those forms. Starting with tax year 2016, we made some changes, as most of you know. We have the verified summary of payment reports still has to be submitted to the department annually. However, we changed the date to be the last day of January following the tax year. So for 2017 tax year 2016, that'll be January 31, 2017. We also changed some requirements regarding W-2s, the W-2Gs, gambling, and 1099s. We created a rule, drafted a rule, and it passed through the administrative rule process to help us combat fraud. In looking at states that require W-2s and 1099s to be submitted to departments, we found out that we were one of a few that did not require this. And so this is a big step towards helping to combat tax fraud. And so that's why we're requiring these to be submitted to the department starting for this tax year. So beginning in 2017, coming up here in January for tax year 2016, withholding agents that have 50 or more employees, Iowa employees, are to file electronically their W-2 forms with the department by January 31, 2017. And then for this year, withholding agents with less than 50 employees can, but we're not requiring them to electronically file their W-2s. And we encourage withholding agents to file the W-2 W'2Gs and the 1099 forms with the department by the same date, January 31, 2017, but they're not required to. However, if you want to submit them, we of course would be happy to take them. So we also have different requirements beginning tax year 2017 and going forward. The verified summary of payment reports, the VSP reports, that requirement doesn't change. It's still January 31 of the year following the tax year. And then for W-2s, W-2Gs, and 1099s beginning in 2018 for tax year 2017, we're going to require all withholding agents to electronically file those forms with the department. So that would be January 31, 2018. We're going to ask withholding agents to file W-2s, W-2Gs, and 1099 forms with the department. Here's a list of the different types of 1099 forms that we're going to ask withholding agents to file with the department. It covers most of the 1099 forms. We're going to talk a little bit about submitting wage statements and information returns. And we're going to start with some quick tips. So we ask that you include the Iowa withholding permit number on every wage statement and information return that you report to Iowa. And this withholding permit number is commonly displayed with a hyphen between the second and third digits and the ninth and 10th digits. However, for our electronic reporting purposes, you don't need to use the hyphens, and it's just a 12-digit number. And so you'll put that number on every wage statement and information return that you electronically file with the department. We have different types of entities that submit forms to the department, W-2 and 1099 forms. One of them are transmitters, and transmitters collect data from employers and payers and serve as a third-party pass-through, the kind of a conduit to the Iowa's e-file and pay system. So a transmitter is to use its own BEN, and we'll explain what a BEN is in just a second, to access the e-file and pay system as a bulk filer, just as payroll service providers do. Transmitters register with the department in order to become an Iowa e-file and pay bulk filer. And then the files are uploaded by the transmitter, and those are subject to the same rules that the payroll service providers have to follow. Payroll service providers, clients, 12-digit Iowa withholding permit numbers are to match the Iowa records for their filings to be accepted. So that's what we're going to look to match to accept those records.
Do you want to take any of these questions? One is on how are you defining 50 or more employees? Is it based on W-2s? Is it based on full-time equivalents?
Is that coming up in your?
It's coming up right there. Dan was asking if we're going to answer some questions. Can we just keep going?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll take I'll take a look at those questions at the end. So the BEN, the business e-file number, is called what we call the BEN, and the Department of Revenue assigns a BEN to every registered business entity that needs to file, log into the e-file and pay system, and that could be an employer, a payer, bulk filer, payroll service provider, or transmitter. And a bulk filer is to use its own BEN to log into the e-file and pay system, not its client's BEN. And then the bulk filer reports a respective client's BEN on the RV and K records, which we'll get into in a little bit. And that's an extra slide that we don't need to go over right now. Specification and record formats. We started with the Social Security Administration publication, also commonly referred to as the EFW2 for tax year 2016, and then we made some slight modifications to it. So copies of the SSA file can be used for the Iowa filing as long as the state information, also known as RS records, are included. And then for the 1099s, we started with the IRS publication 1220 specifications. and that copies of the IRS file may be used for Iowa filing as long as the state information is included in the B record. And once again, the 1099 doesn't come into play until 2018, tax year 2017. We do not accept other types of files other than the ones that we just talked about. So we do not accept paper, W-2 statements, or 1099 information returns. And we do not accept CD-ROMs, cartridges, flash drives, swap disks, magnetic media, PDF files created at the SSA website. So basically, anything else we don't really accept. What kind of authorization is needed to upload a file? Companies that are registered to file Iowa withholding returns can just use their existing e-file and pay credentials to upload wage statements and the 1099s for their own company. Payroll service providers and transmitters that have registered as bulk filers use their own e-file and pay credentials to upload the withholding returns, wage statements, and information returns on behalf of their clients. Are you required to test? No, sending a test file is not required, but we do recommend it. And test files can be uploaded through the Iowa e-file and pay demo mode, and this allows you to use real data but not commit to it. And so that's a way that you can test the system out. Do you have to send us a transmittal letter? No, please do not include a transmittal letter. How will you know if the department received your file? For each file that Iowa receives, Iowa will post a corresponding results file. And if there are any issues with the data that you've provided, the results file will report why your file was rejected, and then there will be error messages that will be listed accordingly. And then we ask you to correct those errors and resubmit a new file. Iowa does not participate in combined reporting. First of all, the SSA offers no combined reporting program for W-2 wage statements. And the IRS does offer a combined federal state filing program, but we do not participate in that program. So no combined reporting participation for Iowa. Getting into the W-2 file record format, as we mentioned before, the W-2 specifications conform to the SSA's EFW2 format. We ask that the W-2 data be recorded in the ASCII system. Each record is to have a uniform length of 512 bytes, followed by a carriage return and line feed. As we talked about a little bit before, we require the inclusion of the RS state wage record to report Iowa revenue and taxation detail. You can exclude quarterly unemployment compensation from this record. Iowa also requires inclusion of the RV record, that's the state total record that the SSA provides for state summaries. We have a state code 19, and you report totals of Iowa using that state code 19. The RS records reported since the last RE record, which is employer record. You can exclude the counts or amounts from the RS records corresponding to states other than Iowa. And Iowa requires numeric fields to be right justified and zero filled leftward from the most significant digit, and we follow the SSA rules for money fields, so you can follow what SSA does for those. Okay, for the information returns, the W-2Gs, gambling forms, and the 1099s, Iowa information return specifications conform, as we mentioned before, to the IRS 1220 publication. We do follow the IRS formatting specifications for electronic filing information returns directly with Iowa. Just like with the W-2s, the information return data is recorded in ASCII, and we have a uniform length of 750 bytes for each record, including the carriage return and line feed at the end of each record. For the 1099 W-2Gs, we require the inclusion of the K state totals record that the IRS provides for state summaries. Once again, our state code is 19. The B records are used since the last A record, and then we exclude counts and amounts from the B records corresponding to states other than Iowa. Just like with the W-2, we have rate justified and zero filled leftward from the most significant digit, and then we also follow the IRS rules for money fields instead of the SSA money fields. We're going to talk a little bit about some resources. I see there are a few questions that we'll get to. Yeah. Or a ton of them, however you want to look at it. So I'm going to go through some resources that we have here. We have our website, and under our website, if you click on publications, we have the withholding tax publication, Pub 44-082. Hopefully most of you have been able to find that publication. We also have our tax research library, and you can, this is a new system, new and improved, and so you can search through here for just general questions. I don't know that we have a lot of W-2 information on here, but you can look through there for questions that you might have. You can also subscribe to updates, and this will automatically send you any publications that we send out or emails that we send out, for instance, about the W-2s or 1099s. This is what the screen looks like when you go to submit your email address. And here's some different topics that you can subscribe to. And there's just a list of e-lists that you can click to subscribe to. We're on Twitter. You can follow us at one of these Twitter names. I don't know what it's called. Twitter name, sure. We also are on Facebook. Feel free to like us on Facebook. And once again, this is just general educational purposes only. If anybody has an audit or a specific protest or question, please contact the department to work with the representative that you're working with on that issue. Okay, so some
All right.
questions have come up.
You ready?
Sure.
Let's start with the Q&A box if we can. And as we're going through these questions with Teresa, if you have further questions, please put those in the Q&A chat box so we can keep track of where we're at and make sure that we're getting everyone's questions answered. So with that, we're just going to start at the top here. I heard that only 4 software companies will have this 12-digit code. Catherine asked that one when we first got started, and so I don't know if you know what that's in reference to.
I am not sure that the 12-digit code is the withholding permit number, and so I guess I would think that most people who signed up for the withholding permit would have that. So I'm not sure, but we can certainly take a look at that and see if we can figure out an answer to that.
Okay, and if there's more clarification you can provide, Catherine, please do that, and we can further assist you. So next question, how long does it take to get a bulk filer BEN?
4 to 6 weeks.
Probably about 4 to 6 weeks. We have tried to we're aware that we have to have this process and that people have to go through it, so we're working to get those processed as quickly as possible.
Okay. And the next question is on this 12-digit number again, not employer EIN number.
No, it's not your employer EIN number. It's a withholding permit number that the department issues.
Are there any exceptions for filing VSP reports?
VSP reports have been required for every withholding agent, I believe, for a while. I don't know if we're specifically having any exceptions for the VSP reports. For the W-2s and the 1099s, we are working towards having a form that you could fill out if you need an extension of time to file. I can check more specifically on the VSP reports, but we have had those as a requirement for a while.
Okay, and here I see Laura's got a further clarification on that. If we file electronic EFTS, you see that one, Teresa, IRS, do we still need to file to do a VSP?
Yes. Yep.
We are a government agency.
Yeah. The VSP is required along with the W-2 for this tax year, and then starting in 2018 for tax year 2017, it'll be the VSP, the W-2, and the 1099.
Okay. All right. Go back up here to the top. Will transmitters send copies of federal 1099s and W-2s to the IDR, or will the IDR come out with Iowa versions of these forms? And also, even though companies with less than 50 don't have to file for 2017, for 2016's tax year, do they still need to paper file these forms to the IDR?
We do not want any paper files. So no paper files. If you want to electronically file and you're less than 50 employees, that's fine. And we'll certainly accept that. But at this point, we're not wanting any paper files. The first part, will transmitters send copies of federal 1099s and W-2s to the IDR, or will we come out with an IR version of these forms? No. It'll just be the federal 1099s and W-2s.
All right, and now Trish has a question about employee counts. How are they being determined? I think we saw that question before in regards to the 50 full-times. Do you want to kind of walk through that?
It is just if you have 50 employees.
So is that full-time equivalents?
During the year.
I think if you're issuing 50
W-2s,
W-2s
yeah.
to state of Iowa employees.
During the year.
Regardless how many hours they worked, if they got a W-2, they count
That counts
as one
toward
of
the
the 50. Okay. Hopefully that clears that up, Trish, and then we'll move on here to Stephanie's question. We upload to FIRE for the IRS. We would now also upload to Iowa. Is that correct?
Correct. I'm not sure on the FIRE for IRS, but we now upload.
That's what the IRS calls theirs.
Yep, that is correct, that we upload to Iowa.
Okay. And then Rachel's question, where exactly do you upload a test file? So she was in the e-file and clicked the demo button, but there is no option for the file upload.
To get access to testing through the demo, you would want to contact Taxpayer Services.
Well, wait a second. On Friday morning, they will see that.
Okay. So Friday morning is when that will be live.
So it's just a timing issue,
Yes.
Rachel. Just give it a couple of days. Cindy's questions, I do the payroll. Our accounts payable person will do the 1099s. Does she need to get a separate permission, or can I upload the 1099s for her?
You'll be able to delegate that within the app.
Okay.
But the user one will delegate
Okay.
to
Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see here. When transmit submitting, if there are errors, how soon are you notified, and are those errors going to be resolved prior to January 31st?
The feedback results file will be almost immediate.
Okay.
So you'll get pretty immediate feedback on whether or not there have been any errors. And I think we would ask you to resubmit as soon as possible.
Okay. Stephanie's question here is about FIRE. We uploaded FIRE as well as Iowa, correct?
Correct.
And I think you said yes on that one. Okay. So if there are no withholdings, does an electronic copy of the W-2 need to be e-filed?
If you had a withholding permit, even with no withholding, we ask that you electronically file with the department.
Okay. Do accounting firms need to register as a bulk filer, or do they use their own BEN that they currently have to submit W-2s?
They would use their own, no.
You have to be registered with the department as a service provider, so
Okay.
or as a bulk filer to do that.
Okay, so they cannot use their own BEN. They'll need to be registering. And pretty simple on how to get registered.
It's on our site.
Okay.
Yep, you can go to our site and there's a form that you fill out and then you get a letter, the bulk filer application, and then you'll get a letter that explains what happens next.
Okay. Darla's question is about copy of the slides. So we are going to make the slides available on this website. I think maybe Patrick can help us out, provide a link to that as we go along here and answer the rest of these questions, but it'll essentially appear right where you went to log in for this particular webinar, Darla. So hopefully that answers that. And then Jill's question, will a printout be available afterwards? So I think it's kind of the same question you're asking, but so hopefully that covers that, Jill. We will have the slides posted and archived, and they will be there forever, I guess. So they will be there. Thinking about 2017 W-2s, so if an Iowa employer doesn't have an Iowa withholding permit, since they have no Iowa withholding, will they need to get a permit, a BEN, an e-file?
No, we're just people with a withholding permit. That's what we're looking for. Those types of entities or people to file with a permit.
Okay.
Electronically file with a permit.
All right, question for clarification here. 1099s required to be submitted only if they have withholding? So if no tax is withheld, they don't need to be reported. Is that correct?
We're still working through the 1099. Once again, 1099s don't need to be submitted until next year, to 2018 for tax year 2017. So we're still looking at that a little bit, and we can get back to you on that.
All right. So if you want further explanation on that, maybe, or do you provide some contact information at the end of this so they can?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect.
But it is.
All right. Morgan's question here, would it be better to submit W-2s through our client's BEN login individually or do the bulk file?
I think it would depend.
It depends.
On what you are.
Are you already filing their withholding, the client's withholding a certain way? Because you could do it that same
So if you're already filing the withholding
for your client.
as a bulk filer, then that would work out to file the W-2s as well. Hopefully that helps, Morgan. If you have need further clarification on that, please just type something in here and we can hopefully answer that. This next one here from the anonymous.
The question is A record, B record, RV, RS. Can you explain these, please? These are addressed in more detail in our publication that I referenced and that we showed in the resources. And so if you go there, there's actually a few pages that talk about what those records are. And basically, we're using the SSA or the IRS publication specifications, depending on whether it's the W-2 or the 1099, and then modifying some of those records. So those records come from those publications, and then we have some slight modifications for Iowa purposes, but you can go to our publication and get kind of a better definition of what all of those are.
Okay, great. We're gonna fly through these as fast as we can. Our producer, Patrick, is telling me that we've got over 100, almost 150 questions.
Oh, wow.
So we're gonna keep moving here, and I apologize if we don't get to your question, but we will get you answers. Just bear with us here. So where do you find your withholding permit? We have a BEN.
You're filing a quarterly withholding return, are you not?
Yeah, so I don't know what
B.
is being asked here, but maybe if you could be more specific with your question, I think that would help Pete out too. Will the slides from this program be sent out? They will not be sent out,
Not sent out,
but they will be
available.
posted on the website. And so again, I think Patrick can put that out there, and he already has actually. If you look in the webinar chat functionality, you can see that one of the most recent posts is his link to the slides. Carol's question regarding W-2C. Due to the escalated deadline, we are anticipating more requests for a corrected W-2. Do you need these submitted electronically or paper? Electronically, will you follow the SSA?
We're not asking for W-2Cs at this point. We haven't been able, we're not able to accommodate them, so we do not need the W-2Cs.
Okay, perfect. Could you please let the Department of Revenue know we would like the extended Iowa instructions in a printable format, one where we can download the entire instructions. Okay, thanks for the feedback.
We'll take that back.
Okay, next question. If we have less than 50 employees, do we need to report for 2016 since paper forms are not accepted? I think we've kind of covered that.
Nope. You can file electronically if you have less than 50 employees, but we do not want paper forms. So if you want to file electronically, that's great. And if not, we'll just look for you for next year.
It's not required for 2016,
Correct.
but if you are going to do it, you need to do it electronically. So then Jackie's question, if we are not reporting Iowa withholding on 1099s, are they required to be e-filed?
It would just depend on whether or not you have a withholding permit.
Okay. How timely will the results of the submission be?
So we talked about this a little bit. They'll be about pretty immediate.
Within seconds type of thing?
It's supposed to be, but we don't know, if everyone's filing at the same time, what the impact will be on the
Sure.
system. But it's testing out to be immediate.
Okay, perfect. Will other W-2 programs be able to work with Iowa, or do I have to log into Iowa and do it separately?
We have our own system. These forms are being submitted through the eFile and Pay system. That's Iowa specific. So you will have to log into Iowa and do this for Iowa, and not working with other programs.
All right, and then questions about the slides. I'm hoping that we've got that covered, so I'm just going to keep moving. Are 1099s required only if they have withholding? So we're getting that question again.
Not this year.
Not this year, right?
Okay. And what about those employers that don't have to withhold Iowa income tax and don't have a BEN but have Iowa state wages? Are they required to electronically file?
We might have to get back to you on that question to figure out how that scenario would come up.
Okay, so Jill, if you want to either provide more specifics here or get in touch directly afterwards, that'd probably be the best way to go. Andy's question, 1099s, can we not submit paper copies? Does it have to be electronic?
It has to be electronic, but once again, 1099s are not required for this year, no matter how many employees you have. They're just required for tax year 2017, which would be due January 31 of 2018.
Okay, and Janice's question here, they don't have any employees. Do they have to file 1099s electronically this year, next year?
No 1099s this year. Next year, if you're issuing W-2s or 1099s, then yes.
All right, and then I missed one here. I'm sorry, Donna. Donna's questions on 1099 PATRs. Is that?
I believe we listed all the 1099s that we're asking to be submitted. Once again, not this year, but next year. And so if it's not on the list, I don't think we were contemplating that we would ask for that.
Okay, so you should be good to go on that one. Do you know of any providers that are capable to transmit the W-2s, etc.?
Are you asking for like a list of providers that would be able to do that? And if so,
I don't think we can list them.
I don't know that we would have a list.
Okay. So Judith, I don't know, you might need to be a bit more specific with your question. Are you willing to go through the process to download our W-2s?
What was that question?
Gloria Hansen.
Oh, would you go through the process to download our W-2s?
We can't log into the system right here to do a walk. I think they're asking for us a walkthrough, and we can't do that right now.
We have, it's through the eFile and Pay system. And I believe our publication goes through some of that.
We are planning to put on our website some screenshots that will show how that's done, but we don't have it available yet.
Okay. what programs do they use to format W-2 and 1099 files?
Your software provider should be able to do that for you. If you're
Okay.
sitting at home thinking you're going to do it yourself, you're probably not going to be able to do
Okay.
that.
So you'll need the software that is specific to actually creating them, right? All right. I have one client with 50 1099 vendors and one employee. Are they required to e-file? So I think what I know to be true is that no, not this year, but next year, yes. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. The student has become the master. Do you upload an entire new file if you have errors, or only the employees with errors? So are they going to be batched, or are they, that?
Correct the errors.
Only it will tell you whether your whole file is bad or not. But if you're uploading a file with multiple employers in it, then you'll only upload the employers that failed.
Okay.
So a given employer is either all good or all bad.
Okay.
All
Perfect. This clarification question for tax year 2016. You want to answer that one?
Yes. So for 2016 tax year, which would be filing January 31, 2017, withholding agents less than 50 employees do not need to submit W-2s or 1099s. They can if they want, but only electronically. So the question then goes on to, or paper filing is required. No paper filing is required or allowed.
All right. Stephen's question is about vendors here. So QuickBooks and CFS for e-file, they say it's going to work. Do you have a list of vendors so you know that it will work with?
So we don't have that.
Okay.
We do not have a list of vendors.
Okay. In the seminars that we are taking, only the big 4 W-2 companies are using 12-digit codes. The rest of us don't have to. So I think Catherine had asked something similar to this earlier.
I think that's something that we'll have to take a closer look at.
Okay. If you file electronically, do you still have to send in the signed paper forms?
What are signed paper forms?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the signed paper form is. Are you talking about the
Transmittal?
8453 form?
No, that's not.
No. Okay.
So maybe if that was your question, maybe a little more specifics on what form you're mentioning there. And then this question is getting to these, what are the 4 companies? Do we know what they mean by that? No?
I do not know.
Okay. Sherry's question, for bulking, we have multiple offices. Will each office get a bulk filing account? Then do you assign employees under the bulk filing account so each employee can log in and work on their client? The error reports, do they get emailed, or do you log back into the system to see those?
They're right there when you've uploaded your file. You wait for a response, and it comes back right there on that same page.
Okay, so you click upload, and within seconds, you're getting told yes or no. Okay. And then in regards to the part of that question about the bulking and having separate.
Multiple offices
Yeah.
and needing separate numbers.
Right.
I guess
I can interpret the question multiple ways, and it's hard for
Okay.
me to give an answer on that.
That's fair. So maybe just more specifics on that question, if we could, for Pete. I keep looking at that first one. I know we've answered it,
right.
so I'll keep moving. How do I get my BEN number?
That would depend on whether or not you've registered for a BEN number. If you haven't registered for a BEN number, you would go to our website and find the bulk filer application and fill that out, and then that will be processed.
But generally, you get it by registering for a withholding permit.
And yes, Pete said you generally get it by registering for a withholding permit, so you can look at that communication.
Okay. Just looking at my producer's notes here so we don't miss anything. Can the W-2 information be manually input into your system?
Next year.
Not for this year, but we're working on that for next year.
Okay. Do these rules apply to 1099s and W-2s that don't have any withholding? Yeah, we have, and they do, correct? If they have less than 50 W-2s, do they need to provide paper copies this year? No. Never a paper copy. Where on the e-file website do you submit the W-2 files? I don't see it anywhere.
So
to see it on
that
Friday?
will go live on Friday, and you'll be able to see that option starting on Friday.
Okay. So there, again, here that, oops, I already lost it, Patrick. Okay, I'll keep moving. What if no employees but 50 plus 1099s?
Once again, 1099 is not required this year. Starting next year, they will be required. And I think that answers the next
Yep.
question. So no one is required to submit 1099s this year. No, you can, and we encourage you to, but you're not required to.
Greg's asking if we can provide the link to apply for the bulk BEN number. Maybe with Patrick's help, we
Yeah.
can try to get that into the chat box between now and the end of our time together.
Yeah.
Greg, so if you can be patient, we'll try to find that and get that to you. I own an accounting firm and use QuickBooks. QuickBooks allows us to upload W-2s for our clients directly through them. Will QuickBooks upload directly to Iowa?
You should ask QuickBooks.
All right, so we're going to defer that one to QuickBooks. Ask them specifically yourself. How do we find out the withholding number?
So that would be on your withholding return. And I'm not sure beyond that. If you can't find it, I guess you could ask us.
Okay, call in. We don't have to e-file this year then.
Well, that just depends on,
Number.
you don't have to e-file 1099s, and depends on how many employees you have, if you have to file the W-2s electronically. So that just depends on a lot of different factors.
Okay. If a business does not have an Iowa withholding number because they have never withheld Iowa withholding, it's a lot of withholding. How will they file their W-2s?
They won't, because if you've withheld from 50 Iowa employees or more, right?
Mhm.
All right. So Pete, maybe we'll just have you talk a little louder so they can hear you.
I'm right here.
Yeah. I'm getting told by the producer that
Oh.
Pete needs to speak up. What is the penalty for non-compliance? Ooh.
Right now, we're just trying to get everybody in line with trying to get those returns in. And so, as I mentioned before, we are working on an extension. Rather than not getting forms, we prefer to get forms, even if they're a little bit late. So we would prefer to get the W-2s at some point, so we can start seeing how all this works and seeing what the data is showing us. And so, as I mentioned before, we're working on an extension form that we hope to have on our website shortly if you need to ask for an extension to file with us. And so that's what we're trying to work on, allowing people to file a little bit later if they need to.
Okay. Our next.
And those extension forms are basically following the IRS allowances for extensions. So you can kind of think about what the IRS does, and that's pretty much what we'll be doing.
Okay. Next question is from a school district. She's asking about the withholding permit number. Where would she find that? Is there a listing somewhere? Can she call into the Department of
No.
Revenue to get it?
There would not be a listing. You could call us to get your permit number, or it should be on your return.
Okay.
It's generally the same basic number as your federal identification number, but we had a 3-digit suffix at the end. That's not always the case, but 99% of the time that's true.
All right. Show us some examples of how this will work. I think Greg was mentioning there will be some screenshots up.
Yes, we are planning some screenshots on the website, but we don't have them as yet because we don't have the system live yet.
Not live. So how do we get the 12-digit number?
So once again, that's your permit, withholding permit number. We just talked about that a little bit, and you'll use it without hyphens for putting it on your wage statements and information returns.
Okay. Can an employer submit W-2s through their BEN, or does it have to be through a bulk filer?
Employer can do it on their own
Yeah.
if their software formats the file.
So employers can do this on their own. They don't need to go through a bulk filer.
They need the software to format the file for them.
Okay. So hopefully that answers your question, Nicole. If you have further questions on that, let us know. Can you explain then next here who is a bulk filer?
I don't have an exact definition, but a bulk filer is a filer who files a lot of returns, basically.
A payroll service
And
provider.
a payroll service provider. That, if you have the definition of that.
Okay. And in 2018, does state of Iowa and the IRS require electronic filing of W-2s and 1099s?
Iowa does, and I believe the IRS and the SSA already have required that.
And that's for 2017 tax year or 2018 tax year?
Before 2017 tax year and on. So
Okay.
regular year 2018, January 31, 2018 for tax year 2017. The IRS might not, I'm not sure if they require electronic filing for everything.
They do for if there's 250 or more.
Employees or more. So they might have some other options. And as I mentioned, we are working towards allowing for manual entry.
Okay. And one more question here, actually one more of many, but if an employer does not withhold Iowa withholding tax, are they required to get a BEN and an Iowa 12-digit code?
No.
No. Okay, so that's an easy one, no. The test file, is that up and running?
No, that won't be up
Friday?
until Friday.
All right. All right. So Linda's in here. I guess that's not really a question. If we have filed state withholding through e-file and pay monthly, do we already have that 12-digit number?
Yes.
I have a BEN number.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Let's see here. Patrick, where you at, man? Do all 1099s need to be submitted electronically in 2018 or only if they have withholding?
We have to discuss that, yeah.
Yep, that's something that we're still looking into.
Okay, so to be determined, Linda. Do all 1099s, I already got that one.
Joan, I think. we're in
Okay,
Joan.
actually working through submitting W-2s and 1099 info on your form that we need to submit would have been most of what you said went right over my head. Okay, I guess that wasn't a question, but
Yeah, it's hard to talk about it rather than show it.
to actually do it. Can you clarify the reporting requirements for 1099s for 2016?
Okay, for 2016, I hope, talking about tax year 2016, which would be January 31, 2017, when you would file, there is no 1099 reporting requirements for this year. If you want to report the 1099s, you can electronically.
Okay, perfect. Here we go. I'm just going to borrow the mouse to get back here and do a little. Will PowerPoint be available afterwards? Yes, it will, Jerry. It will be available at the link that you can find in the webinar chat box. Patrick has uploaded that link. It'll be right on the iasourcelink.com webpage. I have clients that still process payroll manually while they are under the 50 form number this year. How would they electronically file if Iowa doesn't accept PDFs?
So for this year, if they're under 50 employees, they would not need to file. And then I believe next year, we are working towards having a manual option. So hopefully that will help out with the payroll that's being entered manually, and then you can just do that. If not, I believe you need to find a provider that is able to help you out with that.
The next question here I'm seeing is Chad's. Are you able to show us the screen where we will be uploading so we know what to expect?
We can try to provide a link to that at some point, but not can't access
today.
that.
But
Currently.
probably with the screenshots that you'll be uploading, that'll be one of those. Okay, you see one, take one. What software companies comply with the Iowa format? It sounds like we don't know that.
No.
We don't know that.
Trying to find some that are probably relevant, ones that we haven't already answered. Maybe you want to take that very last one from Sharon. Do you want to do that?
Sharon asks, we are two separate businesses at the start of the year with two different bins. We have since combined. Do I need to submit reports for each bin? Is there a way to add one bin number to another in order to submit these reports? That's probably a question we would need to take a closer look at, I would say.
Okay.
Sure, we have that right off the top of our head.
What about farmers that pay their spouses that don't take any withholding from their paychecks and don't currently have BENs?
Well, for this year, I'm guessing there's less than 50. And so you would not need to do anything this year. Where did that question go?
Oh, shoot. I already lost it. It was
So farmers that issue withholding to their spouses.
right.
Um,
They don't need to file electronically this year,
this year,
obviously.
no. I would think,
And they don't have a withholding tax permit number.
right.
Then did they really withhold, or did they pay estimated
Yeah.
tax? There's a
Yeah, I would think
difference.
it would depend on whether or not they're actually withholding or, as Pete said, paying estimated tax.
Okay. Well, Marcy's question here is similar. What about employers who hold no Iowa state income tax,
Mhm.
i.e. farmers? They don't have a withholding tax permit number.
Yep, so we're just looking for people with withholding permit numbers to file the department.
All right. Thanks everyone for staying with us and bearing with us. This was an incredibly popular topic today. I noticed one question was, will this be repeated?
Mhm.
So I don't know if we should think about that or not, but anyway, we'll try to get back to you with an answer on that question as well. For those service providers filing for employers with fewer than 50 employees, is the filing going to have to meet the same formats as the SSA and the IRS? Or are there easier formats for smaller filers?
Just that one format that,
So yeah, and once again, that won't be till next year, that next tax year that you'll have to file the department. And we are using the SSA and the IRS specifications as our basis, and then making a few changes. So we'll be using that, basically using that format.
The same as the SSA, IRS. Okay. What date will they be able to start running a test batch so they know they're doing it correctly?
That'll be
Friday, and they do it in demo mode. Yeah.
8 a.m. on the 16th?
Actually, I think they're installing it Thursday night, so it should be anytime Friday morning.
Okay, perfect. All right. How is employee defined?
It would be probably defined in our code, which I don't have in front of me. But if you're paying wages to somebody and then required to withhold.
So again, we got this, what is considered a bulk filer? I think you've kind of already touched on that one. Let's see here. There was a very specific question up here earlier. We have two separate businesses at the start of the year. Did you answer that one?
That was the one that we thought we might need to take a closer
Okay.
look at.
Okay. I would like clarification on bulk transmitter. We use Nelco software to e-file federal 1099s, SSAs, W-2s, and other state required forms. Minnesota looks like.
I'm going to be reaching out to Nelco.
Okay. All right. So will this software be used to file Iowa forms? So if you would like, they can call into the Department of Revenue then in the next couple of days to get that answered, or how do you want them to proceed, Pete?
If Nelco is their provider, they should reach out to Nelco to get the status, but I'm going to be reaching out directly to Nelco, and I think their intent is to support this.
Okay. If we're not going to upload a file, will we be manually entering the info into e-file and pay, or paper filing?
So the option is to upload a file. We do not do paper filing, and manual entry is not available this year for tax year 2016, but we are working on it for 2017, tax year 2017. And so what we're looking for is an uploaded file.
Okay. If there is no withholding on their 1099s, are they still required? I'm sorry, I think we've answered that one a few times, so keep going. Where can I print out today's information? That, again, will be, Patrick's got it in the chat bar there, link to it. The 50 employee threshold, is that 50 employees or 50 FTEs? And that's 50 W-2s, really.
Yeah, 50 employees.
So individual people. Let's see here. So employers with less than 50 employees but more than 50 W-2s for 2016 required to file.
I would say yes.
Okay.
So we can take a look at that and see how that scenario would all work out.
Okay. Less than 50 1099s, and you want no paper forms. Do we need to send this? Do we need to send to you? So no 1099s for 2016, but required for 2017. I don't know. There's some others here that you think we haven't gotten to yet.
No, I think we can
Keep moving.
Yeah.
Keep scrolling. Let's see here. When sending the W-2, do we send all the W-2s for our company or just the Iowa W-2?
For right now, just the Iowa W-2,
Okay.
or for an Iowa employee, I guess would be more correct way to answer that.
Sure. Do you have a sample of how this is going to work on your website? Will we be able to upload our W-2s that we now submit to federal?
So we're working on having some screenshots, as Greg mentioned before, and yeah, we'll be looking for the federal W-2s.
Okay. So as a CPA office, we have to file with the state of Iowa as well as SSA, or just if our clients have 50 employees or over?
So 50 employees or over would be for tax year ending 2016. And then going forward, it's all withholding agents. So if you have a withholding permit or you're withholding income for taxes, then you would be submitting the forms.
Okay. I'm seeing one here on, I prepare third-party sick pay on the IRS website. How do I transmit that?
I'm not sure that's something we'd have to take a closer look at.
Okay. All right. Might be something to just call into the IRS or to the Department of Revenue to get answered.
Probably the best way to reach us if you have more questions would be our general email address, which is idr@iowa.gov.
Perfect. So maybe Patrick can type that into the chat bar too. He's going to love me after this. So do all 1099s have to be e-filed this year? No.
Nope, no 1099s need to be e-filed this year.
If we've answered the questions since then,
Yeah.
right?
No, I agree. These are some old ones. I thought maybe we'll just skip way down here. I got what you're saying. See anything that you want to grab? Can you upload the same file created from the fire system to Iowa?
There's subtle differences, so no.
Okay.
And that those differences are addressed in the publication, and so you can look and see. We say whether or not it's the same as the IRS or the SSA publication, and then what differences there are.
I don't think I've seen this one, but maybe it's just as a bulk filer, do they need to get a signed reporting agent authorization form?
I'm not sure. That's maybe something that we can take a closer look at. I'm not sure what the signed reporting agent authorization form
Okay,
is.
maybe more specific there. If you have to correct the W-2, will they be done electronically also?
No corrections
we're
this
not
year.
doing corrections for W-2s.
Okay, that's right.
David asked, as a transmitter, why does Iowa need a BEN included for each client? So the BEN is what Iowa uses to match to the EIN, SSN, or TIN. And so that's specific so that you can get into the e-file and pay system. And so that's just how we make sure that you are who you say you are, and that's the number we use. So that's why we require the Ben.
There's a couple up here that maybe are specific. I don't know. We have employees from multiple states. The company will have greater than 50 W-2s, but not all are Iowa employees. Are they required to e-file in Iowa?
For this year, no, we're just looking for the Iowa employees. So if they
Okay.
have less than 50 Iowa employees, not for this year.
Okay. Let's see here. We use the SSA Business Services Online to file our W-2s electronically. Can this file be used for IDR?
It's kind of the same
It's
question.
kind of the same thing where IRS has the fire system and Social Security has, I forget what they call theirs.
It would be similar.
But there might be a subtle difference, so you have to check our publication for that subtle difference.
Okay. Holy smokes. Is this new this year? I'm going to keep going.
Yes, this is new for this year.
Can we get a printout of the presentation? Yes, of course. Now I see what Patrick was saying when he said there's more than 150.
Yeah, there's
Probably like
200
500.
210 questions. You guys got a lot of questions.
I'm confused for the 1099s in past. I've only sent a 1096 to the IRS Department of Treasury. Am I now sending a 1096 and 1099s to the IDR?
No, we're just looking for
What is a
1099s.
Transmittal.
And the 1096, the transmittal letter, we're not requiring that. We don't need that.
Applying for a bulk filing account with multiple offices. How do you handle that?
I think that was kind of the same question
Yep.
that Sharon had, and we'll take a closer look at that.
Okay. We'll be posting a template or sample file. Yes. 1099S.
I'll have to look back at my slide to see if that was included.
Okay.
It is not.
It is not.
Okay. I apologize if I've skipped over your question. We're trying to get to ones that we know for sure are new. There's one about ASCII up there. Please email to attendees a sample of what a good transmittal ASCII file should look like, the layout of it.
We can see if that's something that we're able to do, and if we are, we'll certainly do that.
Put it on the website, maybe.
Yeah.
Open for submission on Friday. Is the state employer state ID the same as what was submitted in the past?
I'm not sure what the state employer's state ID number is,
Okay.
but your withholding permit number, if that's what you're talking about, would be the same.
Yeah. On the printed W-2, it actually does call it a state ID
Okay.
number, so
Okay.
that is what Iowa calls the withholding permit.
Okay. So, yes.
It's Patrick. Maybe I'll take that while you
Okay.
guys are going through something.
It says, let's see. 2017 due 2018 January, all withholding agents required to electronically file. Can we submit electronically with our current Ben? Yes. Yep, you don't have to file for a new one or apply for a new one.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
So it is 1 o'clock and we want to be respectful of your time. We'll maybe try to answer a few more questions. I might skip down here a ways just to get to some things that are maybe a little bit more recent. We'll stick around for a little bit and try to answer a few of these, I think.
Deb asked if our software vendor has questions on reporting requirements. Who do they need to contact? As Greg said, that you can contact the email box.
Right.
All right, I'm being
Okay.
told that we need to wrap it up. So I think there's a way for us to try to answer some of these
Yeah.
questions directly after the webinar. So we will do that, and appreciate all of your time. Again, we have all of these questions, and so if we feel like they have not been answered during the time of this webinar, we will take the time to get back to you with answers on them. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So we'll be signing off. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.